1st of 2012 to April 9th of 2012, the juvenile court had 8 new drug-related cases, and none of those were felonies. Fast forward to this year, from January 1st of this year, 2013, to April 9th, 2013, that same period, we've had 21 new drug-related cases, which is essentially a 2.5 times increase, and 5 of those were felonies. And it just shows you that this marked increase. To give you some other feedback on that, from my September 2011 till March 1st, 2012 time in the court, I only saw 1 heroin case, and it was only required to deal with the removal of 1 newborn heroin baby at the hospital from the heroin mother. Since December of 2012 to now, I've had 3 of those cases where I've had to remove the heroin baby at the hospital because mom was on heroin at the time of delivery, or up to the time of delivery. The heroin cases before March of 2012, other than that 1, we had none. Yes, we had a little bit of marijuana. Yes, we had some methamphetamine. Yes, we had some cocaine. But the cases were somewhat sporadic and somewhat localized. Since March 1st of last year, heroin has become a daily issue in the Geauga County Juvenile Court, and I'm sure it's even greater over with Judge Topeka at the municipal court, because I get them under 18, but primarily where I've been dealing with them is the dependency, neglect, and abuse cases. This is where, because of the parents' use of drugs, in this case heroin, where either JFS is called in and they respond, and they have to file a case and then ask me to find the child to be dependent, neglected, or abused, and then we have to deal with the placement of the child either with JFS or some appropriate place. Or a phenomenon that we're seeing now in the last month, we are seeing more what we call private custody cases, where a grandmother or relative is coming to the court asking for temporary custody of a young child because the natural mother, father, or both are using heroin. And what's happened in those other cases, where they come in now privately to the court, by definition, I've been asking JFS to come involved because JFS has the investigative capabilities that my court does not have. And the reason for that, and I will give you a simple example, about a month ago, we had an uncle and aunt come to our court. They asked for temporary custody of some young children. They had asked for it because they actually had physical custody of the children because the natural mother and father had placed them with the aunt and uncle while mom and dad were out on a heroin drug spree. The parents, the uncle and aunt, were concerned that the parents could come back and, in the absence of a court order, take those children at any time because they are their children. And so they filed with me to get temporary custody of the children. Based on our review and the drug issue, and the fact that the parents had already placed those children with the aunt and uncle, I gave a temporary order to give temporary custody to the aunt and uncle. We then have to have a hearing, and I held the hearing very quickly, and at the time the mother and father showed up for the hearing, the aunt and uncle were there for the hearing. The mother and father admitted to be using drugs up until that day even that we had the hearing for the mother. And I thought, well, I made a great decision here if we're going to do fine, until mother said, well, if you think we're bad, you ought to test the aunt and uncle. And when we tested the aunt and uncle, their heroin use level was higher than mom and dad.